quite clearly, it was not a good night from our point of view. But I do want to remind everybody that in 2012, President Obama's first debate was not very good either.
The moment Joe Biden spoke, alarm bells went off at Democratic Party HQ. His voice was hoarse. Apparently, he had a cold. He looked quite confused. His points fell flat. And when he wasn't speaking, he looked very frozen, and he just did not look particularly well. I think probably the best description of what happened last night was from Frank Luntz. I mean, it is fair to say people are not showering Donald Trump in platitudes, but he looked strong compared to Biden. The frailty of Biden. Frank Luntz, the pollster, I think has got kind of line of the night, possibly the year. He was doing a focus group, and someone in the group said, this is like a choice between the circus or the nursing home. Now, across the political spectrum, the general view, and many of you are messaging in, and the general view is that Biden did not have a good night. However, there was one person who did think Biden knocked it out the park, and that was his wife, Jill. Let's have a listen.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the... And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
But Jill Biden's very much in the minority, with a vast number of Democrats really panicking that they may have got the wrong candidate. Many people are very worried that the race may already be determined. Well, let's speak to somebody who really knows the DNA of the Democrats. Robert Creamer is a veteran political strategist. He's a partner at Democracy Partners and a former consultant to the 2008, 2012 and 2016 Democratic presidential election campaigns. He joins us now. Robert, welcome to the show.
Good to be with you.
Now, even Biden supporters will admit that last night's performance was really difficult for President Biden. What did you think of it?
Well, first, quite clearly, it was not a good night from our point of view. But I do want to remind everybody that in 2012, President Obama's first debate was not very good either. I mean, he had a tough time. And the snap polls after that one said the same thing, said that Romney in that case was the winner. And that was 6 weeks before the election. This is 5 months before the election. So I think there's a lot of campaign left to remedy the problems that developed there. Secondly, as somebody said, you know when Trump is lying because he opens his mouth. I mean, he lied and lied and lied. I mean, he's the guy who lost more jobs in the United States since Herbert Hoover, and talks about what a great economy he had. He created more deficit than any recent president by giving huge tax breaks to the very rich, to the billionaires. He horribly mishandled COVID, probably costing thousands of lives. He flat out denied calling veterans who died suckers and losers. General Kelly, his former chief of staff, 4-star general, today,
Robert,
reasserted that he was told the truth.
All of that is true. All of that is true. And I interviewed one of Mark Potter Lotter, who was one of Trump's former presidential campaigns at the beginning of my show. And we went through a lot of the lies that Donald Trump told. However, the broad consensus, and this is from including people who are so rooting for Joe Biden, there is this really strong sense that he made Donald Trump look strong last night because he did look so frail. And of course, the big conversation coming out of that debate last night, Robert, is should Biden give way at this point and let somebody younger have a go at taking on Trump? What do you think about that?
I think it's very unlikely that he would do that. I mean, clearly, assuming he continues as the candidate, and I think he probably will, he has to make it clear to the American people that he is a strong, effective leader. Now, let's be clear. We have real-time tests for both of these people. I mean, Trump was president for 4 years. Biden's been president for 4 years. So the question is, who can most effectively lead the country and the society? And we have real empirical data for that people can sense and feel. And this is not speculative. And I think that's the case we have to be making.
But surely the question should be right now, it's like an emergency. Surely the question, Robert, should be who can beat Trump. I mean, so many of my listeners have messaged in who really do follow American politics. And of course, who sits in the Oval Office is important for the whole world. You know, we in London sitting here care really deeply about who is in the Oval Office. Someone's just messaged in saying, I reckon the only Democrat who could beat Trump at this late stage is the California governor, Gavin Newsom. His name is coming up a lot. Are there any other younger candidates that you think could step in or could do a better job?
Well, I wouldn't say do a better job, because I think Joe Biden is doing an excellent job as president of the United States. But the question is, are there other candidates? Of course. I mean, there are a number of governors: J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, Whitmer of Michigan, as well as Newsom. I mean, and of course, there's Kamala Harris. But I don't expect that to be the case. I think that that Biden will stay in the race, and that over the next 5 months, we will see the momentum turn in the right direction, and people reject his brand of going back to Donald Trump.
So we've just had it confirmed. CNN's just been reporting, saying that not only does the president of the United States not plan to drop out, Biden remains committed to a second debate in September. This has just been briefed to CNN. I mean, if we get to the Democratic convention and there is a lot of unrest, for example, with donors, if a lot of the grandees in the party, is there any mechanism by which Joe Biden can be removed? Or is that it now? If he decides that he wants to stay, is that it until the election?
I think it really rests with Biden. The Democratic convention, of course, is not until late August. So we'll have a lot of opportunity for the president to demonstrate his strength and effectiveness, and to demonstrate also that he's on ordinary people's side and Donald Trump is not. I mean,
sure, but so many of my listeners, and Robert, you'll know this as somebody who's a political strategist, as I have been in a previous life. I was a big strategist for the Labour Party, which of course is a sister party to the Democrats here in the UK. As well as
in the next election, let me tell you.
Well, look, as well as the words you say, which are really important, and I think Joe Biden said some really excellent words. You will know this as well, Robert. It's how you say them. And when he was looking incoherent, when he did look like he was stumbling, searching for words, just be honest with my listeners, that does not look like a strong leader.
No, you're correct. I mean, 80% of communication is nonverbal. I agree completely with you. But he has lots of opportunity to make a different impression.
And how would you, if you were advising him, what would you say? Like, if he is going to, he apparently he's just briefed CNN. He's committed to that second debate in September. What should he do differently?
Well, in a second debate, he needs to pay closer attention to his posture and his facial expression and so on. There's no doubt about that. But he needs to go out on the road and demonstrate to people the kind of candidate that he is, that we know he is, and let people see him over and over and over. We have 5 months for that, and there's a lot of opportunity for him to make the kind of impression he did at the State of the Union message, which was strong and forceful.
Okay, Robert, I'm going to read you a message from one of our listeners. I'm going to apologize. It's a bit of a sharp message, but I'm going to put it to you because I want you to respond to our reader. One of our listeners, Jonathan, is messaging saying, this Democrat expert, Robert, can't bring himself to have an objective conversation with you, read the debate. Biden is toast. Democratic denial makes Trump inevitable. Robert is coming across badly. What would you say to my listener, Jonathan?
Well, as I said earlier, we heard the same things about Barack Obama after his first debate in 2012, and that turned out to be wrong. I mean, we'll have to see how the polling shows this affects ordinary people. Most
And
Americans are very polarized about where their view is and have a very fixed view. There's a very small number of persuadable voters.
yeah, and
Really,
there's 6 swing states where, but
turnout.
Robert, if after this debate, and you're doing a very good job kind of defending Biden, if the polls really start tanking for Biden in the next few days into weeks, will you not concede there will be some crisis at the heart of the Democratic Party?
I would not expect the polls to tank. I think they will move several points, and that's about all because people have very fixed views here. The real question in this election is turnout. Who will go to the polls? Who will vote? And it's up to us, ordinary people, ordinary voters, ordinary people who work in the Democratic Party to get out the vote, to go work. It's within the margin of effort. And that's what we ought to be focused on.
Okay, final question to Robert. Lots of people have been messaging and texting in. What about Obama coming back?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not clear as what the law is, but I don't think that is at all likely. You can't serve 2 consecutive terms. I'm not sure about a third unconsecutive term, but I would be very surprised at that.
Okay. Well, look, Robert, really good to catch up with you and get your insight. You're a veteran Democratic strategist. Great to have you join us. That's Robert Creamer, partner at Democracy Partners and a former consultant to many Democratic presidential election campaigns. Gosh, lots of comments coming in. Chris says, why isn't Anthony Blinken ever mentioned as a potential presidential candidate? I think that's a really good shout. The Pete Buttigieg, I can never say his name properly. He's somebody. Mike's message and I agree with your correspondent on Gavin Newsom being a strong Democratic presidential candidate. For one thing, he's 25 years younger than Joe Biden. And in an unstable world, these things matter. Suresh's message and saying, listening to this Democrat warrior carry water and contort themselves defending Biden's performance last night almost makes me want them to lose. If they are that head and ass, then MAGA is not the problem. It is only an equal problem. Someone said, what about Michelle Obama for president? A couple of people have messaged me about that. Oh, that would be something, wouldn't it? But to be honest, I actually don't think it should be a dynastic thing. I think it should be somebody, a fresh new voice. And there should be proper development of talent.